Sorry for the delay. We are reconvening the November 18th meeting today, November 25th. It is now 5:38 p.m. Jordan, we need a roll call of the trustees in attendance. Jordan just walked out. What?
Mr. Chair,
Would you like me to do the roll call, Mr. Chair?
Yes, would you do the
This
roll
is-
call vote for me?
This is for attendance, not a vote. Trustee Janet Couch,
Yes.
Trustee John Daly,
here.
Trustee Michael Freeman,
Here.
Trustee Art Reyes,
Present.
Trustee Jeff Swanson,
Here.
Trustee Wendy Walcott. Here. Chair Andy Everman.
Present.
There is a quorum.
Thank you. Informational reports. Acceptance of standing board committee reports. The finance report. Mr. Swanson?
There was no meeting held.
Thank you. Personnel report. Wendy?
We held a meeting, I believe it was not last week, but the week before, and I'm not sure if Jordan brought the agendas for that
The minutes from that.
minute, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Board Policy Committee. That is me. The meeting took place on Friday, October 25th. The minutes are in your all packets, and it should be in the back of the room. Goals and Objectives Committee. Trustee Freeman.
No meeting was held because there was no business before the committee.
The Ad hoc Committee. Met on November 4th at 2 p.m. The minutes are in your packet, and they're in the back of the room. Other reports. The MCCA. Trustee Daly.
Just that the work is continuing on getting asset management scholarships for facilities managers at the 28 community colleges here in Michigan through MCCA. And at this point, it would appear probably either 2, possibly 3 of those will be coming to Mott.
Was there anything about data-driven decisions and
Nope,
keeping data on our students?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. ACCT, Trustee Reyes.
Yes, 4 trustees went to the ACCT Congress in Seattle. Excuse me. There were over 150 different presentations that were given. Mott gave a presentation as well. The board convened its meeting, just regular order of business. And as we always do, there was a presentation on including mental health issues of the students in consideration in any decisions that we're making.
Thank you. Trustee Freeman?
Yeah, I was one of the trustees in attendance and was able to present with our workforce development team as well. And the presentation was very well received. Many thanks to Robert Matthews and his team for the great work they did on that presentation.
Any votes taken? Trustee Freeman? Any votes taken?
Any what?
Any votes? Any votes? You're our delegate that votes.
Yeah. The vote took place?
No votes on anything.
Yeah, I was part of the Senate, so.
Thank you. Administrative report items. President's report. Madam President.
Thank you, Chairman. To begin my report, I am pleased to announce that a trustee honorary ceremony will be held to recognize the 2 members of our board that will not be returning in January, our chairman, Andy Everman, and trustee Michael Freeman. The ceremony is to thank them for their many years of service and award each of them an honorary associate degree from Mott in accordance with Board Policy 1370. The event will be held prior to the board's Committee of the Whole meeting on December 16th at 4:30 p.m. in Trustee Hall at the MCC Event Center. It is open to the public, and family and friends of the honorees are, of course, invited to attend. Before I turn over the president report to the team, I would like to present a summary of my first 90 days as interim president here at Mott Community College. And I will start with a summary of key activities. In internal leadership and talent management, I have completed 18 division tours and department meetings, which included many interactions with students, staff, and faculty. I have held 15 executive cabinet meetings with the team, and I've attended 10 Mott Community College events and delivered remarks. These include the all-employee kickoff for the fall semester, the 9/11 ceremony, the Southern Lakes Branch Campus Open House, and the Distinguished Alumni and Outstanding Retiree event, among many others. I held over 250 one-on-one meetings with direct reports, union leaders, department and program leaders, and other staff and faculty to listen to the current projects that they were working on and to better understand what barriers they were facing and how I could support them in their efforts. Averaging 80 to 100 per day, I have fielded over 7,200 emails. I have distributed the inaugural President's Corner newsletter to all campus, students, employees, staff, faculty, and community leaders. I have initiated and held 3 faculty forums focused on faculty satisfaction and the drivers of such, and also to understand from the faculty perspective drivers of enrollment and student success. I have implemented grant approval process streamlining review to reduce the compliance risk associated with the grants that Mott applies for and is awarded. With regard to accreditation, I have held conferences with the Higher Learning Commission and confirmed Mott Community College is not under any current monitoring, sanction, or other inquiry with the Higher Learning Commission. I maintain full confidence that we will be prepared to meet all accreditation requirements for Mott's reaffirmation in 2028. With regard to student learning and success, I have formed and hosted a kickoff of the Student Presidential Advisory Council, the Fall 2024 cohort. I have attended 8 Mott Community College student events, including the fall semester kickoff, which we greeted students at the main campus as well as the Southern Lakes campus. I attended the Student Life Rally, interacting with the students and understanding the various student life activities and clubs and affinity groups on campus. I attended the Trustee Scholar Awards ceremony, as well as the women's basketball game, with more on the agenda. I donated a one-month digital billboard advertising on I-69 for the winter semester enrollment campaign. And I initiated student coffee hour with the interim president at the new main campus coffee beanery. I attended 2 virtual and 1 in-person meeting with MyLeap, enjoying my time with Dr. Beverly and learning about her new role with the state of Michigan. I also attended an Honors English 101 class, which was a wonderful opportunity to interact with our students as well as the faculty. In terms of financial sustainability, I have reviewed and approved approximately 135 purchasing, employment, and grant contracts. I have implemented actions resulting in approximately $300,000 per annum of operating expense savings. On the technology side, I have evaluated the client architecture reference model, also known as the CARM, by Aleutian, to examine how our campus IT systems are being used currently and how they're being integrated and upgraded to SaaS. I reviewed and approved the camera and electronic entry upgrade plans and sped those along in an effort to enhance campus security. With regard to community engagement and economic development efforts, I have attended 3 MCC events, including the summer conference on Mackinac Island, a meeting in Manistee, which I attended virtually, as well as an in-person president's meeting in Frankenmuth just a couple of weeks ago. I have held 14 community partner meetings, including with the president of Kettering University, Tim Herman, the CEO of Flint and Genesee Group, Dr. Lawrence Alexander, the Chancellor of University of Michigan Flint, Sheldon Neely, the mayor of the city of Flint, and Steve Tunnicliffe, superintendent of the GISD, just to name a few. I have attended 19 community events, including the Catholic Charities charity event, the YWCA of Greater Flint Circle Luncheon, Carriagetown Ministries annual fall benefit dinner, the Empty Bowls fundraiser at the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan, just to name a few. To provide more details related to the key operating expense actions that I have taken, in October of 2024, made the decision to hire in-house general counsel, which replaced
Excuse me, one moment. I'm trying to find on the agenda where we are right now.
We're under the president's report.
You will find that?
No, I mean, well.
You will
it should-
find
it's
this
new
on
hi-
item
it's-
number 11, and if you look in your agenda, you will find it.
No, I just, this is not normally what we get. I mean, we should be at new hires.
As you will remember, Trustee Freeman, she said before she started and turned that over to new hires that she was giving her president's report. It is on the agenda,
Well, I mean,
president's report.
I would just want
So
it
there we are
articulated. I
moving
mean, if this is an
forward with
item, I'd
this,
just
Mr.
love it
Freeman.
articulated on
The
the
chair has
agenda.
ruled, Mr. Freeman.
The chair has
We are moving
ruled.
forward.
Chair has ruled.
Thank you, Trustee Freeman.
With regard to the key operating expense actions, in October of 2024, made the decision to hire in-house general counsel, replacing 3 outside legal firms, which improved access for staff and faculty and streamlined the review processes for all legal items. It provided 1 point of contact, which would replace the 3 outside legal firms. This will result in an approximate annual savings of over $150,000 per year. I also eliminated the internal HR search committees, which cost the college in the terms of stipends $100,000 approximately per year. This move reinstated hiring manager decision-making, putting the power back into the hands of those who were looking for the employees in the first place. And it also allows those who were formerly committee members to focus full-time on their primary roles. The Office of the President, in terms of travel and relocation expense savings, will realize roughly $50,000 per year in savings from the Office of the President, and that is based on actual average 2024 run rate versus what was spent by the college in 2023. This results in over $300,000 of annual operating expense savings. This is funding that can provide further investment in our student programming and services. Other identified opportunities that are under investigation is the possible relocation of the Northern Tier campus in Clio. We're currently paying rent of approximately $23,000 per year. While this would require a one-time capital outlay, it could result in roughly $175,000 to $200,000 per year in operating expense savings by relocating to a building that we could purchase for with additional funding from the state, potentially. Finally, key strategic actions. During my first 90 days, this has been a time of intent listening to all stakeholders, particularly our students, our staff, and our faculty. Key initiatives that have been developed in response to this relate to enrollment. I've kicked off a fresh project to evaluate the enrollment value stream, to identify opportunities for improvement through streamlining those processes. With regard to the medical complex, initiated at the board's request, planning for an on-campus medical and dental clinic, and I've led the planning for a dental clinic interim renovation to provide improved space configuration at the existing location in the short term, using in-house resources to provide them much needed space and reallocation of the existing equipment. Expansion opportunities for our athletics program are also underway. These have been proven to drive significant step function increases in enrollment, and I believe that the potential exists here at Mott as well. Finally, with regard to strategic planning, not embarking on a strategic plan, but rather laying the preliminary steps required to be prepared for 2025. We have initiated a campus capacity utilization study. We are evaluating area job market forecasts and implementing program viability and profitability evaluation processes. These three activities will provide the foundation and the baseline to inform the 2025 planning process, including a master plan, the strategic plan, as well as the budget. Finally, I would like to publicly recognize the executive cabinet and the members of my direct team for exemplary performance in the face of monumental change and tremendous challenges. They have risen to the challenge, and they have proven themselves to be highly professional, nimble, and stellar at what they do. Mott's success is a direct result of the hard work, passion, commitment, and dedication of the entire staff and faculty, and I am honored to be a part of this team. For that, I thank each and every one of you. We are truly changing lives and moving together with an unwavering focus on our students. That concludes my 90-day report. I will now turn it over to Associate Vice President Christy Dolly.
Thank you.
Good evening, trustees. Today I'm here to present our new hires to you. First, we have Tracy Peyton Lester. Tracy has worked in social work for over 20 years. From 2001 to 2014, she was the clinical manager at Mott Children's Hospital. And before coming to Mott, she worked at Owl's Place of Greater Flint in Genesee County as the program director. There she managed the Children's Grief Program. Tracy is joining us as the lead social worker in student academic success. Next, we have Cornell Jones, who was hired in October as a custodian. Before coming to Mott, Cornell worked as an assembly line worker for Bridgewater Interiors from 2015 to 2022, and at Ground Effect LLC from 2022 to 2024. After working as an assembly line worker, he went on to become a custodian working for NTech, the staffing firm. Next, we have Jessica Flint. Prior to Mott, Jessica worked as a health and nutrition advocate at the Center for Civil Justice, overseeing the Health Eligibility Law Project. There, she helped clients with public benefit programs, program applications, and maintenance. She is joining Mott as an adult reentry navigator. Next, we have Kim Folks, who was hired as an intake records processor in Workforce and Economic Development. Kim was a temp working in Workforce and Economic Development through AmeriCorps, supporting Financial Opportunity Center with staff workshops and information sessions for students and community members who want to improve their financial outlook. And finally, we have Vincent Palermo, also hired as an intake records processor in Workforce and Economic Development. Before starting at Mott, Vincent worked at Meyer as a service coordinator, service area lead. As a coordinator, he was responsible for keeping track of employees' attendance and schedule, and he also worked at Eastern Michigan University in the English department as a first-year writing instructor. And I misspoke, we have one more. Heather Morey. She was hired as a career navigator, also in Workforce and Economic Development. Heather worked as a career coach through GST Michigan Works, working with individuals to figure out potential career barriers to employment and how to overcome those barriers. Before that, she worked as a senior recruitment specialist at Placement Management Center. That concludes the new hires for October and up to now, November.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Human Resources? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Next, Jason Wilson will review the Celebrating Employee and Student Success Report.
Thank you, Madam President, Mr. Chair. Happy Thanksgiving to all the trustees. Good to see you. So we have one individual we'd like to celebrate. Is Carla here? Carla was here, but she is our executive director of the Family Life Center, and we were thrilled to hear that Carla has become the first African American to lead Michigan State's Alumni Association. So go green. I don't have a dog in the Michigan fight. Let's clear that up. But certainly, we're very proud of Carla, her leadership at the Family Life Center. We look forward to her relationship with Michigan State alumni and Spartans and benefiting the college in that way. So thank you very much.
Are there any questions for Jason before he leaves?
Not leaving yet.
Okay.
Two more.
Seeing none. Next report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The enrollment report for November, want to point you to, next slide, Jordan. Thank you. The numbers, this will be the last fall report that I give as we are well underway in the winter enrollment cycle. We ended the fall strong, 10.3% increase from the budget year that we planned for, a little more than 6,700 students, and approximately a 4%, almost got to 4% increase last year in headcount. So again, we've been doing a cross-section between the budget year that we planned for, which was the 22-23 year, but we also recognize the importance of keeping track with how we were doing last year. And so that's why you see both numbers. In reference to contact hours, 67,846.5. That's an 11% increase from the comparison year and 3.7% of an increase from last year. So some of this is outdated a little bit. We started winter at the beginning of November. We are again doing the mini-mester. This is the intersession of classes that we do over the winter break that we've done for a couple of years. We will begin to recruit next year, happy to report, for the Board of Trustees Scholar, the Workforce Scholar program that was proposed and passed by the board. And we are launching, soft launching our new customer relations module. CRM is what it's commonly referred to. This is really to improve our experience for the students that are incoming into the institution. Allows us to develop regular communication with them through the enrollment process so we can make sure that they don't get lost within the funnel of enrolling. Next slide, Jordan. At a previous meeting, I believe Dr. Daly and other trustees requested a snapshot comparison of how Mott is doing in relationship with other colleges across the state. And what is customary to do when doing these kinds of comparisons is to drill down into what would be considered the college's peer group. So our peers are highlighted, and those peers are determined really by a number of factors, but in the case of this particular exercise, I did it based on total enrollment. So any school between 5,000 to $10,000 students, we're considering our peer in that regard. So what you're seeing is this year's comparison in terms of our peer colleges and us. And when I pulled this, and these numbers are unofficial, I have to be very clear about that. Colleges' official enrollment numbers are submitted to the federal government, state, things of that nature. This is a report that we share, registrars across the state share with each other just as a courtesy in terms of where we are at different points. I believe this is an October 9th report, but I don't want to publicly say that this is the official enrollment count for these institutions, okay? But as you can see, Delta, Jackson, Lansing, Schoolcraft, all performing really well this year in reference to their enrollment, better than we are in terms of just the overall trend. And across the state, it really is, I think, a little bit of a lag, if you will, in terms of the Michigan Reconnect and the adults that are really improving the enrollment numbers. So what we're seeing here, or what I'm seeing and hearing, is that the Michigan Reconnect has really benefited these institutions which is really responsible for a lot of their surge during this calendar year. Jordan, go to the next slide. In comparison, this is last year's report. And so I was curious just about that swell and, you know, if they were seeing a little bit of a benefit this year in comparison to the benefit that we saw last year. And if you look at that number, you can see that last year, around the same time frame, September, so about a month off, but you can see that we were at about the same average increase as those schools are increasing this year. We've been told over the last 18 months that we've really been a leader in the Michigan Reconnect space, and I think this report and the current report, I think last year's report and the current report shows that we were kind of out first in terms of that, and now the other schools are really beginning to see the benefit in terms of Reconnect in that regard. So it was a good ask. I appreciate the question. I think it was you, Dr. Daly, to just take a look at that, and we'll continue to monitor our peers in terms of moving forward, how we're comparing with our peer groups. So I want to pause there and take any questions before I move into winter.
Trustees, are there any questions? Trustee Daly?
Just one, can you go back to this is the previous year's slide, right? Or this year's?
That's this year's slide.
This year's slide. I know there were some that were close when I look at percent changes in both credit hours and head count.
Right.
But that shows me an across-the-board increase for all 28,
Correct.
varying degrees, but certainly an increase.
Correct.
I just want to be sure that we're saying that because
Yes.
there is news media that's saying different things.
Yeah. Yes, I think contrary to various reports, all 28 community colleges seem to have benefited over the last 2 years, 2 cycles, compared to 4 years ago. If I showed you this report 4 years ago, it would be all over the place in terms of the enrollment across the state. So positive numbers.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, Jordan.
Thank you.
Just an update on winter. Your packet has old information, so Jordan allowed me to update with yesterday's information. We were down primarily because of the leap year. We started, I would say, on a Friday. Last year we started on a Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I want to say. And so those are really our high traffic business days. So we hadn't had a lot of high traffic enrollment days this year, but because Thanksgiving is falling a week later than it did last year, we've been able to catch up. So these numbers really illustrate where we are now. 6.8% increase in the comparison year, flat as it relates to last year, and then about 46,560 for contact hours, 7.9% increase, 2.1% increase compared to last year. So, you know, I want to say in November 1st, when I saw that report, November 2nd, we were down about 37, 38%. So in the span of 23 days, we've not only caught up, but we've zoomed past it. So I would like to publicly thank and congratulate the entire college, because everyone, as you know, really plays a part in enrollment. So thank you all. Give yourselves a hand in that. Also, the Daily Huddle team, which is the team of leaders at the college that really monitors those things, those indicators that drive enrollment, takes a look at what's happening on a daily basis. That was something we instituted maybe 2 to 3 years ago. That continues to be very valuable in our enrollment success. And with
Thank you.
that, I'll take your question.
Trustee Freeman?
So I looked at the enrollment update that's in this packet here, and this gave us a lot of information. This is as of November 14th of this year. And then, within 10 days, we were reporting really significant decreases across the board. And then what I'm not seeing within the initial observations are the comparison, like if this is inaccurate information, how do you get from showing this, 38.1% headcount decrease, and then now I don't see anything related to these things
Yeah,
in this report.
Right. So I wanted to update this slide. Your packet was prepared on the 14th, I want to say, of November. But what I wanted to illustrate at the regular board meeting was how we went from, I believe that the packet says or talks about 38%, and how we closed that gap to somewhere in the 6 or 8 or what have you in terms of the decrease, and really show you that we were trending in the right direction. And the reason why we were able to catch up and trend in the right direction is because we were getting more what I call high traffic business days in this cycle. The comparison to this cycle and last year's cycle, and I even think I made a note to it, was at the time I was making that report, we had only had maybe six to 7 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday combos to do enrollment, versus the previous year we had 10 or 9 or something like that. So, so the fact that we've been able to have more high traffic days, and really what's caused this big, I think, boom between this week and last week is last year at this time, it was a holiday week. And so there was, last week, last year at this time was a holiday week, calendar-wise. So because we had a full operational week last week, comparing those 2 weeks, we had a tremendous opportunity to catch up, to get to this point and now move past. To your point, or to your question, I think where you may be going, because next week, or this week, because this week is a holiday week, last year was not a holiday week. So I expect these numbers to yo-yo a little bit, to come back down. So after this holiday week, going into the first week of December, we'll have a cleaner view as to where we're going.
Okay. And just as a follow-up to that question, in the event that we do have a yo-yo, that the numbers they fall back down, since the pandemic, we've really done a good job at catching up and kind of stabilizing the campus. Enrollment has consistently been going up, contact hours. So currently, this is alarming, what I'm looking at right now. And your explanation is appreciated. That helps me understand why we had these numbers, which are in the public. Everyone can see this and has a lot of questions about it. In the event that we do have a yo-yo and a negative, we start looking at the decrease. My question is, why would we experience a decrease, and what is the interim president's plan to, get these numbers back up?
Well, we don't expect a decrease versus last year, sitting here at 6.8%. It's almost double what we achieved in the fall semester of 4% growth year over year. So right now, compared to last year, we're at just under 7% of increase in headcount. Part of what I was referring to earlier are some of the strategic initiatives related to enrollment. One of the things we did for winter semester was a campaign, including billboard advertising, and ensuring that that message was consistent across all of our digital advertising. So hitting hard on the free tuition and over 100 programs available, free tuition for most with application. So it comes down to marketing campaigns on a broader base. One of the initiatives that we've talked about is looking at the idea of athletics expansion. That it has been proven in many other settings and other colleges to provide that step function increase in enrollment, kind of a big bang, kind of taking things to a new level. Still lots of due diligence that would need to be done. But right now with the free tuition program, the Reconnect, and our focus on our adult learner program, which bears mention too, Dr. Sonia Walker has established a phenomenal adult student program, which currently has about 230 students enrolled in it, with plans to double that enrollment each year over the next coming years. And so lots of initiatives underway. But again, it's not something that we're expecting to see a decrease versus last year in winter enrollment. But if we did, it would require a massive marketing campaign. And other things we've talked about on the marketing side are additional direct mail, including catalogs and things that I believe we used to do. So if the price value proposition works, that is something else that we've discussed doing, getting the lists of programming available and being provided right into the hands of the public through direct mail.
Are there any other questions, trustees?
Does that answer your question?
Just in my experience over 13 and a half years and having this conversation over and over again, advertising is effective to a point, but I think that a multi-pronged strategy is typically best employed to actually assist the college in looking at different initiatives in different ways, partnerships, getting into high schools and doing presentations and outreach in the community. I mean, there's a lot of things, but I'm not the expert, and I know that our team, you guys have done it before, can do it. I just hope that we're looking at something above and beyond just advertising.
We've also initiated the tour of our learning lab to all of our high schools. So that is something that we initiated this fall with Robert's team. So that is another approach. I've also attended the GISD meeting, which is something that that was highly welcomed. Thank you.
Trustees, are there any other questions? Trustee Daly?
Just a procedural question, Mr. Chair. The president gave a report, and I have a question and a comment on that, and at an appropriate time during this series, I'd like to make that.
Thank you. Any questions for Jason before we move along? Thank you for your enrollment update. Next item.
Okay. Last report from me is just a status update on the Adrian College articulation agreement. Just as a reminder, the board approved a motion authorizing a visit back in August. An MCC team led by Chair Everman, Secretary Walcott, and Interim President Snell went. We met with the team there, Dr. Jeff Docking, and Judge Ransom was there. And obviously we hold him in a high affinity. We toured the campus. We toured several facilities. It was really great visit. I enjoyed it. I went down there kicking and screaming, but I had a really good time. So there you go. It was great. And so we took that tour to really expand and take a look at possible partnership opportunities, both short-term and long-term. And the first that we're looking to do is a series of articulation agreements. So Deans Guru and Schubert have begun the process in working with their registrar to work with our faculty to get 3 2+2 agreements in business, social work, and criminal justice approved. Adrian has a graduate program, so 3+1 is also something, or 3, I would say a 2-2-1 or something like that. Basically, to let someone graduate with a bachelor's and only have to do 1 year in grad school versus 2. And then co-curricular opportunities certainly to be explored as well. You know, the goal would be to really set up a pipeline of scholars from Mott to go and attend Adrian in these programs and other programs. So good stuff in the works. I'll yield to the president. I know she's had some conversations as well. I don't know if you wanted to add anything on that. Okay, that is my update.
Any questions about the Adrian trip at this point? Are you going to be able to make it back to Texas for Thanksgiving with your family?
I am.
Have a safe journey.
Thank you. That's not on the agenda, but thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next, Robert Matthews will review the medical legal death investigative training update.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Interim President, and trustees. I want to share a quick update with you on the work we've been doing related to the medical legal death investigation program. So I've had a core team really immersed in learning about medical legal death investigation and the programs that exist. The tough thing is that there are very, very few of these programs that exist throughout the country. The good thing is that we have, through a number of referrals, particularly from the college's medical officer, Dr. Bush, been able to connect with a number of persons and have met with them to begin conversation. What we have learned and really been able to find is almost like a needle in a haystack, because we have actually, through conversation with him, been able to identify someone who has very extensive experience in law enforcement, who has served as a medical legal death investigator, who has helped to develop medical legal death investigation courses, and who is available to assist us with developing a program here at Mott, and also has extensive law enforcement experience and is connected to MCO. So we are taking that as a very good sign of the planets and stars aligning. She is in the process of developing a proposal for us as we speak, and we believe that we could, with a little bit of assistance, be able to launch a program here at Mott Community College in the early part of next year.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions regarding this program? Seeing none, thank you very much on that report.
You're welcome.
Next, Robert will provide the MDHHS Emergency Services Award update.
So this is a bit of good and exciting news. You all know that the Workforce Division works very closely with the grants team here at Mott, and have to give kudos to Ann Rennie. I think she's in the back. Marcus Matthews is in the back. I don't believe Autumn Scherzer and Kathleen LaValliere are here. But the team regularly works with employers and students trying to identify needs, and also looking at labor market data to figure out how we can bridge gaps. And so the state of Michigan is having some challenges right now filling medical emergency services workers. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services had a solicitation. We applied, and Want to announce that we were awarded $396,994.50 to support the training of EMTs. And so we are going to be in the first quarter of 25 launching some initiatives to train more emergency medical services staff, particularly in the EMT space. And this funding will help to support both their training and supports that those students will need while they're in training.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none?
Next, Robert will provide an update on the U.S. DOL Critical Jobs Sector Award.
So the next is also more good news. This is an award from the U.S. Department of Labor, and this is a 3-year award for just shy of $3 million that will allow us to support students in 8 programs here at the college, 4 credit programs and 4 non-credit programs. This program will also be launching in the first quarter of 2025. The funding will support any new adjustments that we need to make to curriculum, but more importantly will help to provide supports for students by way of tuition, by way of fees and examinations that they might have to take to become certified once they complete training, and then any supports that they need while they're in training.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this? Seeing none, let's move along.
And finally, the National Apprenticeship Week events.
I think it might be the jobs portal.
Oh,
Is jobs
it
portal
is.
on there? It is.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Such a long list.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
The jobs
Thank you.
portal.
Yes. So you all know that searching for a job can be difficult and time consuming for our students. So we have worked with one of our labor market firms to identify a tool that really takes a lot of the work out of searching for students. What it really does is it collects and identifies any publicly available job that is posted within a 7-county region. Is the area that we define, Genesee County and the 6 counties that are contiguous to Genesee County. And so students can now use this portal, students and graduates can use this portal to search for jobs. They can search by a keyword, they can search by certification, they can search by location, or they can search by a company name. And so right at their fingertips and at their disposal, and I believe the last time that I looked at the portal a couple of days ago, there were just shy of 50,000 postings that were available in the portal. And so you can imagine having to look all over for 50,000 jobs would be difficult, but this portal is now available to Mott Community College students and graduates.
Thank you. That's exciting. Are there any questions regarding this? Seeing none?
And then the last thing that I'd like to share with you, just in recognition of National Apprenticeship Week, actually the official week kicked off last week, but we like to do things to make sure that we're acknowledging the importance of apprenticeships and earn and learn and work-based learning opportunities. We will be hosting on tomorrow here on campus at the event center a job fair for our students and for graduates. We have, as of yesterday, 22 companies that have committed to being here, and so we're looking forward to an exciting event tomorrow.
Great. Any questions regarding that? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next, Larry will provide a quarterly investment report.
Thank you, Madam Interim President, and good evening, Board of Trustees. So we haven't done a quarterly investment report, so this will be the first, and this is brought to our attention that the board would like to see this, which I think is a great idea. So this gives me some background that I'm going to start with first, and then I'll get into where we currently are. So next slide, please. So we have some policies that govern what we can invest in. The first policy is, you can see Board Policy 3130. It speaks both to the Michigan compiled law, another governing consideration of our investment strategy, and also requires that the college needs to structure our investment portfolio to optimize safety, liquidity, and returns to the college. Next slide, please. Excuse me. Next, we have the restrictions under the Michigan Community College Act investment policy, limiting our portfolio choices to specific investments. These include U.S. obligations and U.S. agency obligations, CDs, specific types of commercial paper, next slide, collateralized funds and pooled investments, specific collateralized repurchase agreements, and limited investment pools. These limitations clearly emphasize safety and liquidity above returns. Next slide. So working within these limitations, our returns are largely affected by interest rates. Interest rates both in borrowing and investing are largely influenced by the federal funds rate set by the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee that meets periodically throughout each year. As you can see, for the past 10 years until 2023, the federal funds rate has been very low. It recovered slightly through 2019, and then nearing zero for the following 2 years until eclipsing the 5% mark in 23 and 24. And as you will see, these rates affect our investment income dramatically. Next slide, please. So our investment income for the same 10-year period follows the federal funds rate increase and decrease that I just showed. Our total interest income for the 10 years ended June 30, 2024 totaled $4.7 million roughly, and $3.6 million inflation adjusted, with 83% of this total coming in the last 2 years. Next slide, please. So, as a hedge to the low interest rates available for investing, and since the college was receiving very little in the way of investment returns, we focused on using our excess cash reserves to eliminate our fees on our commercial checking account. Over the fiscal 10-year period from 2015 to 2024, we saved just under $490,000 in fees. Excuse me, next slide, please. So another significant part of investment income, in addition to available interest rates, is the amount of surplus cash available to invest. In the same 10-year period from fiscal year 2015 to 2024, our available cash reserves for investing increased by $16.8 million, $11 million in the general fund and $5.8 million in our reserve funds. The inflation-adjusted increases were $12.7 million and $8.3 million in the general fund and $4.5 million in the reserve funds, respectively. Next slide, please. The college also diversifies the institutions in which it invests for additional risk mitigation. Depicted here are the 4 institutions holding our investments with the various investment types and interest rates. You will see that at the very top, Chase Bank has a 0% interest, as this is the college's non-interest-bearing commercial checking account. And as I previously presented, we use compensating balances in this account to offset the bank fees that would otherwise be charged. Next slide, please. Finally, the college also has the bond funds that are held by Fifth Third Securities and are latter invested based on our planned construction schedules. These are also limited to the same type of investments as our operating reserves. Next slide. And that ends my report, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Trustees, do you have any questions? Seeing none, thank you for that report. That was interesting.
Next, Dale Wayhill will provide the grant award summary for September and October. Playing catch up.
Thank you, Madam President. Trustees, good evening. We'll start with grant awards that came in. We got notified about in the month of September. We had a very prolific month, as you can see. Grand total is, if I can read it, over $5 million. Just to reorient you to this report, the left-hand column shows the department at the college that is receiving the funds. They're responsible for developing the programs and expending the dollars. The grant name is in the second column. The source of funding, where we receive the grant from, is the third column. The amount awarded is in green appropriately. The date that we were officially notified of the award is listed there. The length of the grant would be the notes column and the grant dates. The substance of the grant is in the overview column, and then we have a sustainability notes column. So let me just go really quickly down the grant overview column. The first one there for $368,000 and some change, an MCC Semiconductor Youth Academy. This is under the Workforce and Economic Development Division with AVP Matthews and his folks. Below that is a related grant, also from the same source, for a Semiconductor Technician Academy. The first one is for high school age students. The second is for people that are over the age of 18. I think we all know that semiconductors, the CHIPS Act, et cetera, the Advanced Manufacturing District potential are all connected to those two grants. Then we have the grant for $170,000, which is part of the 60 by 30 initiative at the state level. The governor and legislature approved several years ago, trying to get Michigan's residents, 60% of them with a college credential by the year 2030, 60 by 30. This $170,000 is going to be distributed directly to students to support them with emergency financial needs, very akin to what we already do in the Family Life Center, and that's where it will be administered from. The next one is the EMT Academy that AVP Matthews already told you about a couple of reports ago. And then below that, the Spina Family Foundation came into us probably 3-4 years ago. They are based out of Boston, Massachusetts, but they have a Flint connection and reached out to our foundation through Mrs. Coney, who's behind me in the audience. They initially gave to the Early Childhood Learning Center a substantial amount for several years. Now they're giving to our Women in Education program $60,000. The next one down is from the Whiting Foundation. This was actually written directly by my area, being administered by my area. We have an event called MCC Meets FIA that we are reigniting and reinitiating. We did this in December of 2018, December of 2019, where hundreds of people, anyone that is associated with Mott College, current students, alumni, current employees, retirees, you all as Board of Trustees members, alumni, I said, can go to the Flint Institute of Arts on December 5th of this year. This grant is paying for the food, the music, and other things that we'll be giving out during that celebration. It's free to anybody connected to the college, part of our outreach into the community. The culinary grants, we received 2 of those for $350,000 from Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. In essence, these are going to allow us to have a building manager for that facility, which we don't really currently have, to build on the celebrity chef events that we did once before, but also a multitude of other things to really bring that building alive in ways that we haven't had the capacity to do to date. Then the last one for September is another workforce grant. This one is around certifying nursing assistant, medical administrative specialist, and other employment categories. Robert, I think, referred to this. It's called Critical Sector Job Quality Grant, and that is a very large one, $2.971 million. So that is the grants awarded in September of 2024. Happy to take any questions.
Trustees, do we have any question regarding the grants? Seeing none, thank you very much. That was good.
You're welcome. Grants awarded in October of 2024, we had 3 total for $1.168 million. The first 2 are related to one another. We have a robust career and technical education program of study operation here at the college. Rebecca Maizinski, you might know her, is involved with that. So these are Perkins grants from the state of Michigan. The first one is an annual formula, $833,000 and some change. That goes to fund the programs of study. And then below is a much smaller grant, also related to Perkins, also the same funder, $9,200 for some professional development related to the Perkins services and the staff that implement those. The third one down is for the Early Childhood Learning Center. This is the Great Start Readiness Grant, GSRP. We've gotten this for years and years. It looks like 33 years altogether, according to the sustainability column. This is for 4-year-olds who are admitted to the Early Childhood Learning Center, which is within the Crowdy Center at the front of the campus. So again, $1.1 million. And let me just say that even though I'm presenting this and my team is very much involved in the writing of these and also the administration of these in terms of compliance, there are dozens and dozens of people across the college that are involved in putting these proposals together and getting them over the finish line. So that's on the academic side of the house, student academic services, but also, of course, workforce and economic development. Happy to take any questions on September.
Do we have any questions regarding September's? Trustee Daly.
Not a question on September, but perhaps not at this meeting, but another time, could you just walk us through, within the structure of MCC, what's the evolution of a grant request? You know, who handles what, how do you do it, how the acknowledgements are done, if, you know, and
Want me to do that now?
chair's
Well-
discretion.
We'll have the board decide that and instruct the president to have you do that. And I think so we follow proper protocol.
I yield to you.
I think it would be helpful if you give an overview of the process that we put in place over the last few months to ensure compliance and complete review by
Okay.
all appropriate staff.
Okay. So at the outset, we learn about an opportunity. Sometimes it comes through email, sometimes through the regular mail, sometimes the president alerts us to it. Other times it's a renewal, so it's already on our radar. My grants team, headed by the grants manager, Ann Rennie, who's in the back, and our grant development specialist, Leanne Barkus, and Lindsay Younger, who's under contract, they then work with the appropriate department at the college where that grant would sit. So it could be a workforce grant, academics, culinary, for example. They draw the team together, look at the parameters of the opportunity, decide whether we're eligible, whether we really should pursue it. You know, is there a cost benefit kind of thing? And then they help write it with the help of content experts from across the college. Once it is the draft is in good shape, it'll go to the interim president of the college for review and her signature, and then we would submit it. Now, we submit it, and sometimes it's maybe a week later, sometimes it's maybe a year later, and everything in between, where the funder will then let us know whether we've received the grant or that it's been denied. We don't bat 1,000 on these things. So when we get a grant and receive it, typically the president of the college, who signs all of our grant proposals based on board policy, will receive an award letter, usually via email. And so once she has the award letter and any other documentation, and that really has all the requirements and stipulations that we have to fulfill based on the funder's requirements. So, you know, sometimes like the Whiting Foundation, $15,000 for MCC meets FIA, they just really say, you know, here's the money to take everyone to the FIA, have a great time. There's not a lot of stipulations and metrics in that. But other grants, like federal awards, you've got pages and pages of not only metrics for measuring success, but also all the legalities that we have to abide by as a college as we implement these. So Shonda, when she came in, we had pieces of this. Sometimes we didn't have pieces of this. So she met with the grants manager and myself, and I think others. John Godola is now involved in this. So we have really a template every time we get an award letter that we can run the requirements through this template and make sure that everyone on the team that has to implement the grant, whether it's complex or not, knows what their responsibilities are, and they have to sign off that they're willing and able to accomplish those responsibilities. So that is an innovation that Shonda recommended and that we put in place. Does that satisfy it, do you think? I'll defer to Dr. Daly.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the next report.
The Institutional Advancement Quarterly Report.
All right, thank you, Madam President. This is for the first quarter of our fiscal year, July 1 through September 30 of 2024. Jordan, if you... So just to give you a refresher on the structure of the Office of Institutional Advancement, we have really two halves and two major responsibilities. One is to communicate the story of the college. We do that through a marketing and communications department. Bob Campbell is our marketing manager. I believe he's here, or at least he was. The other side of communications is the College Information Center. That's run by my manager, Ken Martin. And then on the other half of IA, we're all about resource development, bringing in dollars to the college over and above the three-legged stool that Larry Gothrop frequently likes to talk about, state aid, tuition, and millage money. We go out and we search for grants. We also do traditional fundraising through the Foundation for Mott Community College. Focus areas for the Office of Institutional Advancement under Communications for the first quarter, focusing on increasing general enrollment at the college. We also ran some specialty campaigns, which you'll see in a minute. We focused also on student and employee retention. It's always better to keep a student that's here, or easier, I should say, and an employee that's here than have to recruit new folks. And then community engagement around sponsorships out in the community. And then under resource development, the focus areas were around adult learners, student academic supports, non-academic supports for students, workforce and economic development, and then initiatives by the Foundation for Mott Community College. All right, we can skip past this one, Jordan. It's essentially a repeat. So focus areas for communications, general enrollment. I mentioned that we have one half of the communications activity under IA. It's the College Information Center. These folks do yeoman's work. There are 3 full-time staff members and probably 4 or 5 temporary employees that staff these phones from 8 in the morning, sometimes till 7 at night, depending on the day. For the first quarter, they took in 13,619 inbound calls. They responded to 1,242 live chats, and they processed 6 2-help tickets through the College Information Center. Some of the common call categories, as you might imagine: admissions, how do I get into the college? Once you're in the college, how do I register? Cashier's office, people are always concerned about financial aid and the money and how to pay. Records, we frequently get students or former students that want copies of transcripts. And then, of course, transferring people across the college, either by name or people call and say, this is my problem, and we figure out through the College Information Center where to send them. Special services that a lot of people don't realize we provide through this center at the college. We register people for planning sessions. These would be new students who are coming in. And then also new students, we register them for placement tests. So 259 new students for a planning session, 452 for a placement test in the first quarter. Now we're moving to the marketing and communications department side of IA. We pay for traditional media, or what we would refer to as traditional media. Billboards, we had 10 of them up during this period of time. We ran 2,317 radio spots. We did broadcast TV for 159 spots, print advertising in the View newspapers, which is out county, their Choices in Education section specifically, and then through My City Magazine, which is countywide. Under earned media is different than paid in that earned media is produced by the staff directly through press releases in this case. So it doesn't have a data point up there, but I did capture this before I walked in tonight. And we had 31 press releases during this period of time. And press releases, once you issue them, are loosely correlated to what we call media hits. Not always does a press release generate a media hit. Other things might. But we did have 254 media hits. So that's when we appear on TV, we're on the radio, we're on MLive, we're in the Courier, etc. Then under that is digital media. Again, paid and earned is the separation. Social media, you can see the engagements. I'm not going to read all these. We pay for paid search. So when someone searches cosmetology, Googles it, Mott Community College should show up because we pay for those words. And don't tell U of M Flint, but we also pay for U of M Flint's name. So when they search that, Mott Community College comes up. Under earned media, we do social media in-house. We also pay for it, as you can see. In-house, we had 9,585 interactions with our social posts. And then on the portal, we had 8 posts. On the right-hand side, you see some examples of what this looks like. At the very bottom is one of the billboards that we had. You can see Dave Butkey, automotive, with a student there. Then you see some of the social media. You can see how people view us on their telephone. Up on the right-hand side is one of the commercials called Barriers that we actually won an award for that we've been showing again for the first quarter. All right, specialty campaigns. Not only do we do general enrollment, we're also trying to highlight as best we're able some of the ability for students who qualify and are interesting places in life, whether they're recent high school grads or older students first through the Michigan Achievement Scholarship or Michigan Reconnect. You can see all the things that we did there through both paid and earned media through our office. And then on the bottom right-hand side, this is something we do more and more of lately. We have programs at the college that want special attention from time to time. It's possible that the seats in their classes are not full, occupational therapy. is one example of that. Music is another example. Durham is an interesting one where they just wanted to know, well, not just, but in part they wanted people to know what is going on in that building because it's very hard to tell from the outside. So what we did in preparation that came to fruition in the second quarter was work on them for window clings. So if you walk past Durham and you see those images in the windows of our student athletes and others working out in Durham, that was a result of us trying to focus on a special mini campaign for them. We've also done other stuff beyond that for Durham. So this is the area of student and employee retention. We do something called the Raise Your Hand campaign, where we tell students we have childcare opportunities for you if you have a little one and you're coming back to school. We have a food pantry in the Lenore Crowdy Family Life Center. We have a clothing closet. We have early childhood where you can get it's subsidized. So those are Raise Your Hand. We think that those, in theory, they support student retention because then they can get services that might otherwise force them to leave school. Support services for academics. You can see all those listed there. Those are aimed at students. And then campus event and promotion and support. The two big things that we did out of our office, which we think help retain employees, the all-employee kickoff breakfast and program. We put all of that together for the end of August, I think it was. And then the September all-employee pep rally and meeting, we put a lot of effort into that as well. And then you can see some of these other things that we promote that I think are tied to student and employee retention. And then on the right-hand side, you see some of the examples of these events that we help promote and services. All right. We also do very special targeted marketing and communications for the workforce and economic development area. We have one person who's dedicated to that in our office. His name is Brandon Townsell. He's an independent contract person. He did 44 projects in the first quarter supporting their programming, program recruitment, and events. I think, and some of the examples of his work are listed there. I think I saw some of his work when Robert was showing his slides. Brandon has a sort of a characteristic aesthetic, which is very clean and I actually really like. So those are some examples of things he did for workforce. All right, a last part under communications, 22 sponsorships of community events. The budget for those is under my office. We get the requests. So Southside Reunion is something that goes on around the Brennan Center for probably 30 years now. The Regal Awards, which a number of trustees attend and attended this year. The Allied Challenge, we were a premier sponsor for that, and I believe Shonda spoke at it on behalf of the college. The Gus Macker Tournament, very popular, well attended, had our name on that. Lapeer Days, of course, connected to the center out there. And then the Flint Jazz Festival is another example, although this year it was held in Clio for logistical purposes. The park across Robert T. was not available. And then the other thing is something that a lot of people may not focus on. The staff in our office are really quite connected through boards and committees and other organizations in our community. And when we participate in those, like for example, Lynetta's on the National Case Board, Bob Campbell's on the Fenton Planning Commission, I serve on the Flint Institute of Arts Board, Lynetta's also on the McFarland Board. There are other examples. We always have our Mott hats on when we're in those environments representing the college. So that's it for marketing and communications. Do we have any more time, Madam President? This is like the Wins the War mini-series. It goes on forever.
It does.
So resource development. Here's the focuses again. I ran over these, so Jordan, if you could move it. Here's the grand total for the first quarter. We received 10 grants during this period of time, $6.57 million and a little change. Now, let me just say that some of these grants were submitted prior to the first quarter starting, but they were awarded in the first quarter, so we count them as being received during that period. We also submitted during the first quarter 17 grants for over $12 million. Some of those, probably most of those, we've not heard about yet. In the first quarter for sure. We may have heard about some of them in the second quarter, but stay tuned on that when I present in the future. Next slide. So some of our focus areas, I mentioned adult learners. We got the Go Big grant, 60 by 30, almost $400,000 on the right-hand side. Student academic supports, money for the Mott Middle replication project, also culinary. Go on, Jordan. Non-academic supports, almost $400,000 received. One example is C Campus. That is from the federal government. It supports our student parents who have their little ones in our early childhood learning center. Tremendous results from that grant in terms of retention and completion of our student parents because they can get their little ones in there, removing that barrier. 60 by 30 I mentioned earlier. On the right-hand side, employee-driven initiatives, MCC meets FIA, the Whiting Foundation, $15,185. You can move on, Jordan. Here's an example. Robert already spoke to this. It's the Critical Sectors Grant, huge collaborative effort among his staff and the grants team for almost $3 million. Pivoting to the foundation for Mott Community College, the other part of our resource development team, and I think I mentioned Lynetta Coney, the president, is in the back. $260,000. These are individual gifts for the most part, so individual donors who are cultivated by Mrs. Coney and others at the foundation and within IA gave 330 gifts, which total that amount of money. Student scholarships, we raised during the first quarter almost $121,000. And then the thing that you also need to know is in years past, we've been raising scholarship money. In the first quarter, we awarded through financial aid, $210,000. 42 designated scholarships went to 91 students. We have more scholarships than that. We probably have over 100 designated scholarships, but 42 happened to be accessed in the first quarter, benefiting 91 individuals. On the right-hand side, Mrs. Coney and I raised probably about $300,000 during the centennial year for the Scholars Fund. We did send 150 of that to financial aid so they can start awarding it. We awarded $9,000 in student emergency, nursing emergency, women in ed. And then one thing that you may not know is a lot of our students or former students come to us and have small balances with the college. It could be $10, it could be $5, it could be $100. The Foundation for MCC provides an annual or sometimes biannual allocation, in this case $20,000 during the first quarter, so we can write those off so those students can actually register for classes. Otherwise, they would not be able to do that. So that's a retention tool. All right, I'm almost done, I promise. Institutional support, the Foundation for MCC board gave $360,000 in the first quarter to the college to support our marketing efforts. They gave just over $47,000 for international and global studies. VP Wilson came to their board meeting in the spring and made that request, and they acted on it after July 1. You can see some of the other examples. Employee giving campaign is still going. As of this writing, it's actually more now, but $18,667 donated by our own employees for the annual giving campaign in the first quarter. Naming opportunities, you all approved the resolution for Dr. Rao to be affiliated with the Mott Eats Food Pantry, and you can see some other examples there. I think I've got one last. Yeah, so this doesn't fit nicely in the quarter, but I thought it might be illustrative for you all to see the foundation statement of net position and how it improved from July 1, 2023 to August 31st of 2024, a couple $1 million. There are 200 plus funds in the portfolio for the foundation. And I believe that completes my quarterly report.
Thank you very much.
Well
Are there any
done. Thank you.
questions?
You're welcome.
Saying none, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Do I have one more, or are you bringing Randy up for that?
No, Randy.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, Randy Shapel will provide an update on our cable channel 18.
Thank you, President Shonda, Chair, the trustees. Randy Chappell, the acting CTO for Mott Community College, and I was asked to speak about Channel 18. It's a PEG insertion channel, which essentially is an educational channel that was granted to the college, and again, I wasn't here, but I believe it was in the 80s for telecourses. And the college has retained that through the years, and for the last several years, we've been just turning around the NASA channel and broadcasting on the network because we didn't have any direct usages for it. But what that recently went off the air because NASA made some changes, and it gave an opportunity to realize a resource that we had there, and we started reinvestigating it. And as such, the channel, we're actually currently sending out video on that channel, again already, through I will give a shout out to the AV team who came up with a very creative way to resolve and be able to distribute video on that channel in combination with Comcast, who actually does the delivery. That service is right now broadcasting a couple of centennial specials with some of our highlights for academic programs. That's already happening. That's going on right now. We just recently found out that the Comcast, while we thought this was originally restricted just Flint, it actually isn't. It's going to actually goes out into some of the different areas, including like Grand Blanc, Flushing, Swartz Creek, some of the different areas. Unfortunately, it's not always channel 18. So if you live in one of those areas, just look for the educational lineup inside your channel lineup, and inside there you'll see some different options. Usually there's 2 or 3 different options. And there's some variability there because essentially there are local high schools and different organizations who also have education channels, and so Comcast just kind of distributes along the lines. Typically the lowest number will be the closest one, but they didn't really give a rhyme or reason on that specifically. In that process, we've been working with Dale's office for the future, how we might be able to use this, and what we're going to be doing for the short term is using our solutions, our creative solution, to basically set up a playlist of content from the college. This is going to include things like the commercials and everything's already mentioned, and then extending that out. We're hoping to be able to bridge it out with existing content, and that is the key. We're going to use existing content that the college has rather than do a whole production. You have to realize that as you get into things like, having a channel or distribution like this, creating new content on a regular occasion, doing those types of activities actually encumbers a lot of people, a lot of resources, right? So if you look at the end of a whether it be like a TV show or something, you'll see a long list of individuals. And that long list of people are producers, editors, all these different resources. But what we can do right now with minimal cost and using equipment that we currently have is turn around things that we already have produced. And that's where our focus is going to be initially. It doesn't mean we have to stop there, but that means that's where we start, and so we've already done that. So that's already deployed and it's already functional. And we're going to work with Dale's team to basically help them provide the list of materials that we're going to have out there, kind of run it through them, because they're our, being our public relations team, they're the ones who really will be focused on that. We're going to carry the more technical end over in IT and AV services, and we're going to make that happen. I do have to highlight a couple things I've already kind of alluded to. One is if we wanted to move into things like live content, like if you want to broadcast one of our basketball games, right, one of our great teams, or volleyball or whatever it may be, that's a production. That's not something simple, not something we can just flip a switch. And our current hardware that we have deployed, which we do have, wouldn't really work with that. We'd have to purchase a real solution, do some real technical things, and likely it's going to incur human capital too. It isn't just something we can just do with the resources we have. We'd have the people out there filming, and we'd have to have editors that are live going on. And so we're going to continue to look at that because there may be opportunities in the future to partner with academics, for instance, in some of those different areas. And we're not going to, forget about that option. But, again, we're just taking gradual steps. So we're going to kind of get that back on there, and that's already there today. If you go and find that channel and you have a Comcast, you can go ahead and look at it today. So that's where we are for Channel 18. Does anybody have any questions? I'll try to field for you.
Are there any questions from the trustees? Seeing none, thank you.
All right.
Happy
And
Thanksgiving.
Next, Randy will provide the life safety and security bond project update.
All right. So you might remember back in good old February when we went over the large bond list pre-sale. We went over all the different projects. One of the big ones was the Atriad life safety and security projects. Those were ones that were suggested by the Atriad security review and also associated ones around there. I just wanted to give you an update as promised. I want to be able to give these to on a fairly regular occurrence. To give you an idea right now for access control, RTC should be done by December 1st, and so that's just a week away now. With a little caveat being like the garage doors and a few other things which are more specialty, if you can imagine interfacing those. It'll take us a little longer, but we believe we identified solutions there as well. VADC is the next building on campus to go. And this is focusing on the exterior doors, and the wire is already starting to be pulled over there. It is also between buildings that we do some odds and ends. Public safety gives priority to certain doors, like say in the bistro, for instance, there's one they want done, and there's one over in the event center. as those come up, we bridge those between buildings. So a little bit, basically focusing on the buildings as we're on there, and then in between, we do some odds and ends, and we're back to buildings afterwards. That way, it keeps us focused on the different things we're doing. We do have several teams that are actually working at the same time on campus. This isn't just like one person walking around with, the cable. We actually have several different teams that are working on this. But we're going to continue with this, and it's going well. And as promised, we'll come back and we'll give updates Again, this is all within that same budget, but as an example, we're looking at VEDC, which is around $60,000 for that portion of the project, I should say. All right. Included in this, that was access control. We move over to public address. So our PA work, we have completed work and tested and awaiting audio audit. And I'll explain what that is here in just a second. And Gorman, VADC, and Curtis Mott. So the audio audit is going to be something we've added on. So not just are we going out and installing a different PA, and I'm sorry, not different, but we're fixing it. We're making sure it's modern. We're getting it ready to go. We're fixing the dead spots that we're aware of. And then we test it. And then after that, we're going to actually have a team come in and do an audio leveling. Okay. And so these folks are going to come in and actually use gauges to be able to tell, like, well, there's actually standards of what level the PA needs to be at. Not just that it works or not work, but it has to be certain audio levels. If you can imagine like a hallway with a bunch of students in it, obviously it's going to need more power than maybe a small office. And you don't want to. You try to balance it as best you can. It's never going to be perfect, but you want to hit those minimum levels is really what you want to hit. You want to hit those or better, make sure people know what's going on in those events. We're actually ahead of schedule on this one, so that's really nice. So we're Gorman's, and again, I say we're ahead of schedule because really the audio audit is that piece at the end that we kind of work in to make sure we're crossing our, dotting our I's and crossing our T's. Sorry about that, crossing our I's. So we're actually, as of today, because again, there's a little bit of delay on this presentation, the first one was, so we're actually in Lapeer today. That's where we had folks out working today. So and that equipment was on order and it's actually starting to be placed already. So, all right, next slide there if you would. Thank you. Okay, so this one's a little different. When we originally presented some of the board, the project for the HVAC improvements, recommended improvements, cameras were part of phase 2. So we are on phase 1, cameras were phase 2, probably not really expected to get heavy into phase 2 until next summer, fall time period. But as we start getting into that, that's when cameras were supposed to be looked at, when we're going to start doing some augmentation on the cameras. As a special request, we've been asked to go ahead as far as, and that was a conversation between the president and the chief of police, to look at the parking ramps, and we're going ahead and starting on that. The parking ramps are extremely large. They're not small. We're talking 500,000 square feet of space, if it gives you an idea that we're having to, go out there and work on. When we approach a project like this, we're in a technical extension of public safety. Public safety is the one saying, well, this is where we want coverage, this is what levels of coverage. This number of cameras is not going to give you what we call identification all the time, right? So if you think about cameras that are in public spaces that are out in the open, they shoot a broad range. They're for situational awareness. Lets public safety knows what's going on. You can see cars move around, you see people moving around, but you're not always going to be able to tell who it is, if that makes sense. You really focus that type of thing when you're going into what we call choke points, right? When people start walking through like a doorway or something like that, that's where you have more of that. This project is going to be for covering the open spaces, but we're also going to get the stairwells. And the stairwells, if you remember, we call them silos, at least I do. You can kind of think of them, they're those brick silos with the steps going up between them. And we're putting cameras in there as well. So there'll be some opportunity for identification if they use the steps. But this project it's a difficult one. There's no infrastructure other than, well, sort of power in the ramps, okay? So the ramps don't have any network, for instance. They don't have that. So we need to bring that to the ramps when we install the cameras because they need that. And we have a solution lined up that we believe is going to work adequately for it. It's going to actually supply power and data from the Curtis Mott building, and it's going to be extended. It's going to be cable, and it's going to kind of go over the sidewalk, not under the sidewalk, given the way we'd have to enter the ramps is going to cause a little bit of an issue there. And then it's it's going to be an effective solution, but what I want to be wary of is that, it's short range, short term. I don't want to say short term. The cameras are going to work, the wiring's going to work, it's all going to work, but it's not being installed, because the ramps right now are being evaluated. It's something that we're kind of going through cost benefit of analysis on whether to deconstruction, rebuild, or do major reconstruction on those, which can extend the life by 10 years or more. So that's going on right now. So what we're trying to do is be very cost effective as we move into this. So I hope you understand that we're not trying to skimp, but we're trying to do this reasonable, and we're trying to do it effective at a cost level. It's not just, if we were building all new things, we would take a different approach, if that makes sense. This is obviously a little bit less than that. But that's going on right now. That project is, estimated probably about $300,000 right now for both ramps. But you got to remember, again, it's 500,000 square foot. It's not like it's a small location. So, next on my list is the ADA emergency phones. We were asked by the board, chair actually, to start looking at some options for emergency phones on campus that could actually incorporate for ADA reasons our hearing impaired students. This is actually something we've made some really great headway on. We actually have a solution that we have in the office that we're testing out with public safety. It's going to provide the ability to do visual communication with the individual. Technical, there are some hurdles I want to be aware. They kind of give you an idea. We're not ready to go. There's some size things. These are larger. They're like, if you can think of it, oversized iPads, sort of, type of interface where they would be able to see, and because you got to be able to see the people when you're communicating for something like this. Phone system compatibility. We're making changes to the phone systems next year, so that's short-lived problem anyway. So the solution's going to change and be ready for that next year. There may be also some outside pole integration issues. The poles were designed for the regular auditory-based ones, not for this type of thing. So we have some challenges there, but again, some things that we can do. We are going to face some significant non-technical problems as well, some hurdles, you might say. In conversations with the chief and things like this, it's like, if we're able to build a video solution, can anybody communicate over the video solution? It's going to require public safety staff to know ASL, things of that nature, which in itself is going to be a significant hurdle. I don't want to minimize that. I honestly think if there's something that's going to stop us in making this a reality, it's going to be the fact that getting everyone trained in ASL, everyone be able to use this effectively. If you think about the whole process of something like this, it's another language, right? And on top of that, what we're going to run into with that is it isn't just even a base level understanding, because you have people who are in emergent circumstances who are going to be trying to communicate, and you have to have somebody who knows what they're doing to have that sort of conversation. This isn't just an hour class or a 2-day class to get the skill sets. This is a career and different things in this area. So I'm not trying to say anything's impossible, but that's where I expect to be the most difficult hurdles to come up as we kind of move forward. Cost is a thing too. They are more costly. The phones have to be replaced anyway. Most of our emergency phone infrastructure is 10 to 15 years old, except for some, obviously, like some of the new poles that are out there. Those are a little bit newer. But we're going to have to make a change in those anyway and bring those up to date. So there is an extra cost, but it's going to be one of those things that, some of that would already have to happen anyway. Jordan, if you go to the next slide, I actually have a picture there to show you what this might look like. Oh, would you go back one, actually? Do I have it under there? Is it in the deck? All right, well, I will just hold this up and none of you can see it. Okay, but so I have a picture of what it looks like, and I'll be glad to show that to anybody afterwards. It might be in your printed out versions, actually, if you guys want to take a pic there. It is, okay. And it kind of gives you an idea. Obviously, that in that particular situation, they're not using ASL. That was just for communication, but you can see how it could be effectively used for that sort of thing. All right, so as promised, I want to give regular updates. So right now, the next time I would give an update on these types of items would probably be February, just to give you an idea. I'm trying to use every 3 meetings or so, 3 or 4 meetings, to kind of give you an update on these projects as we continue to move ahead. But if there's any questions I can answer, please.
Are there any questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.
Next, Rod Whitney will provide an update on the oak tree tradition.
Chair, President, Board. I'd like to start by reading a plaque, excuse me, that was just placed earlier this afternoon. Centennial Oak Tree Tradition. On October 8, 2024, the Mott Community College Board of Trustees established the Centennial Oak Tree Tradition. This special tradition creates a bridge between MCC's 100th anniversary celebrated on September 23rd, 2023, and the bicentennial on Saturday, or September 23rd, 2123. This location marks the first of 100 oak tree saplings to be planted each year between 2024, or beginning in 2024. The tree was planted on November 18th. This particular sapling was planted on November 18th, 2024. The oak tree was purchased from Pitchnick Greenhouse. The tree was planted between Curtis Mott and Ballinger Field House, for those who did not attend the event today. A temporary plaque was placed on the site, but a bronze plaque will be in about a month from now for the permanent location. I would also like to thank the ground staff and managers for securing the tree, and Derek from our events for helping us with the plaques as well. And I can take any questions.
Trustees, are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thanks, Rod.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And now Chief Zeckman will provide an update on a recent threat at the Mott Middle Building, as well as the Ford vehicle update.
Good evening. So first for the bomb threat update. On Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, around 2:29 p.m., Mott Community College Department of Public Safety was sent to the Mott Memorial Building regarding a bomb threat complaint that came in over the telephone directly to Mott Middle College's main office. The caller was a male voice with a muffled tone. Mott Middle College went into immediate lockdown. MCC issued a rave alert advising people that Mott Memorial Building went into lockdown and to stay away from the area and to report suspicious activity. Officers responded to Mott Memorial Building and began preliminary searches. Explosives detection canine units came from Flint Police Department, Genesee County Sheriff's Office, and the Michigan State Police. They arrived on scene and completed a sweep around 3:15 p.m. Students and staff remained in lockdown during the sweep. At approximately 3:54 p.m., the lockdown was cleared and students were dismissed. With the assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, MCC DPS was able to develop some leads in regards to where the call was placed and who placed the call. This is currently an ongoing investigation.
Thank you. Does that conclude that?
Yes.
Are there any questions regarding that? Seeing none, thank you.
And the Ford vehicle update?
Yes, ma'am. We received the first Ford Explorer hybrid on October 22nd. It arrived on campus. Arrowhead will be upfitting that vehicle. Arrowhead is waiting for one piece of equipment to still arrive, and they will process that vehicle for upfitting as soon as that piece of equipment arrives. And the next vehicle is due to arrive on campus November 25th through December 6th. And that is all I have on that.
Any questions about Fords? Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. And finally, John Godola will review the expressive activity policy and provide an update on the status.
Good evening to the interim president, board chair, and to the trustees. The starting of this process, I was tasked with the responsibility of evaluating the expressive activity on campus. At the policy committee, I indicated that the focus was on the U.S. and Michigan Constitution. And to that point, from the following statement is where we will begin, that freedom of thought and expression is essential to any institution of higher education. In developing and administering this policy, Mott Community College recognizes the freedoms guaranteed by the United States Constitution and the Michigan Constitution. Mott Community College also recognizes the need to preserve and protect its students faculty, employees, guests, visitors, and property, and to assure the effective operation of the educational, business, and related activities of the college. To that end, the responsibility that I had was to develop a draft of this policy. I did that draft. The draft was submitted not only to the interim president, but to the executive committee. I have received feedback, thank you, by the way, to the executive committee. I have received feedback from that initial draft. That is why I'm giving a verbal report, is obviously a final draft will be submitted to the board when it is completed.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions? Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does that conclude the president's reports? Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Miscellaneous-
I made a
Trustee Daly.
request, earlier to be able to ask the interim president a question about her report and ask you what.
Okay. Trustee Daly?
Interim President, thank you very much for that report. I found it to be, considering it was a 90-day period, concise, clear, and to the point. I think those types of reports are necessary to ensure that there is a continuing common traveled path between the administration and the Board of Trustees. And the key to that happening, in my mind, is communication about what's going on and what's to be expected for your next report. And I would hope you would continue this on, say, a quarterly basis. You know, I would also like if you just give us an idea about what do you expect to see as your main things you want to address in the next quarter. I also had a question on you said that there were $300,000 in savings that had been realized, and I just said, do you have a feel for how much of that's reoccurring and how much of that's one time?
That would all be reoccurring per annum.
Good, thank you very much. Well, that's an important factor because
Yes.
you get a one-time, it's one-time reoccurring, that means you're going to save that same amount or more each year in the coming future. So thank you very much. That's
Correct.
a good job on that.
And thank you. And just to note on the evaluation of the Clio item, I was clear to make mention that it would require a one-time capital outlay, but it's the ongoing operating cash expense that is what was itemized.
Thank you very much again. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Are there any other questions before we move along?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to reconsider the motion that we defeated last Monday for
Which
the
motion?
hiring of the president.
Okay. Give me just a minute. Diane, what is that motion? What's the motion number?
I believe it was 2.59.
On item 2.59,
Okay,
the motion read as follows.
all right. Were you on the prevailing side of that motion? And Diane, could you confirm the answer to that?
This is the motion to offer the position of president of Mott Community College to interim president Shonda Richardson Snell for 3 years.
Use your microphone better.
I'm sorry. The motion was that the board offer the position of president of Mott Community College to interim president Shonda Richardson Snell for 3 years on terms that this board shall determine and as may be agreed to by the parties following appropriate contract negotiations and consultation with counsel. Trustee Swanson voted in the negative. The motion was defeated. if that is the motion he's talking about.
It is.
Okay. So you have made a motion to reconsider this, and you are on the prevailing side. So now, is there a second?
I second that.
Pardon?
I second that.
Okay, so we've got a second. There is now discussion. And because this is your motion to bring this up, it is up to you to decide whether you'd like to speak on this issue first.
Sure. I've had plenty of time to think about this. I brought up some points at last Monday that I talked to people that actually they like the job she's doing. I think the president's doing a wonderful job. As you can see, she's already saved us money in the 90 days she's been here. I think that she fits right in with the administration we have, and that's why I would like to reconsider and revote.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Trustee Daley.
That statement had absolutely nothing to do, that you made had absolutely nothing to do with where I sit and look at this. That this has absolutely nothing to do with the interim president. What it has to do with is process. We need to go through a process to ensure that the process that we approved, to ensure that we find the best person, the best candidate for the job of presidency. We didn't do that on the interim. First of all, we were looking at an interim. And while I agree with you in many ways with your assessment, I want to be absolutely sure that we get the best that we can for Mott Community College. And so for that reason, I cannot support this.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
One comment?
Trustee Freeman.
So this is the second time that the outcome of the majority has been questioned. That we have been through this now twice, and it's coming back at the very last minute, you know, obviously by design. You know, I think, Trustee Swanson, you put it actually you said, you made a very good point that resonated with a lot of people, is that, you know, if the interim president desires to be the chair, it's going to be under, or to be permanent president or president for the next 3 years, that she would get it, you know, under a cloud, right? It would always be suspicion that this was done inappropriately. We've been through this twice. Everyone that I've talked to has been, you know, now we can follow a process. Now we can do what's fair. And indeed, if Ms. Snell is the best candidate, she will have earned that position, right? And at this point, it's not going to appear that the position was earned, it was given. So I would think that if you are the best candidate, that will come out in the interview process, right? I mean, already you have 3 months of experience. You know things about the college that other people wouldn't. I mean, you do have actually an advantage in this. But in all honesty, this is going to appear that this was just a given position without the opportunity to do a fair and transparent process. And I think this board, it is our job to make sure that we follow a process, we are clear, we are transparent, and that if you are indeed the best candidate for this position, you will have earned that in the interview process. So let's not forget that when we actually did the interim search, a binder was followed and provided, and we got a lot of backlash for that. because no other candidate actually had backup supportive materials. I think that my feelings have been pretty clear. I've been pretty honest about how I felt. And I thought, what would change my mind? What would change my mind in this matter would be if you love the college enough that you wanted to do what was best for the college, right? I think if you were just to accept this position, it would appear to be what's best for you. But we have to think about, as a board, are we doing what is best for the college, the reputation of the college, and all involved? I'm not going to be here, so I won't be making the final decision on who the board or who the college president is. But I really do feel like it is my duty until the last day that I serve to ensure that we're making the right decision and we're following a process. So Jeff, you were correct at the last meeting. And I don't know who spoke to you to change your mind, but I think we owe it to the college to follow a process and to actually go through interviews. And like I said, if you do desire to apply for the position, you have information that other people don't. So I really think at this point in time, we're back at it again. If we were to move forward with this, we would be under a cloud of suspicion, and I don't think you would ever be legitimized. And I think there's a lot of people in the community who, I know I'm the director of the land bank. I hear information all the time. People think they know everything about the land bank, and they are accusatory, and they, that's the culture in our community. Is like, it's always like, how did you get that? You must have known somebody. What did you do to get your job? I don't think you would want that. So, point of information, with reconsidering a motion, I believe this is a 2/3 vote, is it not?
No, because the motion is only going back,
Yeah.
so it requires only 4 votes.
That's going to happen.
Trustee Reyes.
I speak against the motion because we have a process that we've laid out. And we rightfully, at the beginning of this meeting, which we should have just finished this meeting, because what it appears to have happened is in the interim week between the beginning of this meeting and the reports now, lobbying has been done and discussions have been had to change the mind of somebody who did bring up valid points the last time with this, in that the best, Mott deserves the absolute best. I'm not saying that Shauna is or isn't the absolute best, but we've laid out a process that is going to cost the college nothing, that is only going to cost the members of this board of trustees some time and some effort that none of us should be unwilling to provide. We knew that we were going to need a new president months ago. So we have an interim president at this point after we interviewed 3 people. We've decided that we're going to do a nationwide search. And I believe that we need to adhere to the policy or to the process that we put in place because this stinks.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
3 weeks ago, I went to a funeral, and a lady came up to me that was in the teachers union, and she said, "Can I speak to you?" I've never seen her before. She said to me, "I want to say I'm sorry for everything that you've been through and some of the members on the board, as well as Shonda." She wouldn't tell me her name or which department she worked in, and I respected that. I asked how she knew the lady that passed away, and she said either a card club or a book club. I wasn't for sure. I don't remember. She had said that she's been in this with a big group with Mott faculty here, and she said no one ever listens to us. And I said, well, why don't you come to the board meetings? And she said, we're the silent majority. She said that They absolutely love Shonda, and what she's doing is phenomenal. And something that they also said to me was, Jason Wilson does a fantastic job, and he is an expert in the academic part of it, and Shonda is an expert in the business part of it. And together, this entire group can see what a dynamic duo that these two are. So I reached out to these people. I've talked to 27 faculty members so far, and I can't get any of them to come to the meetings. I asked them why. They said because they're afraid of what is going to be said, especially with the people in the teachers union. So that is the reason I ended up changing my decision.
Trustee Daly.
I'm really disappointed in at least what it would appear to be from the discussions, 4 members of this board that don't even think about it.
I'm sorry?
Nothing. The 3 of us, myself, Trustee Freeman, and Trustee Arias, between the 3 of us, have approximated 70 years of experience in municipal judgment, or municipal corporations and municipal governance. We're trying to take a path that is the best that we see for the college in the long term, not the short term, not with the idea of let's get it over so we can move quickly into something else. This is a dangerous process. It is one that throughout my career I'm cursed with the Cassandra syndrome, which is to tell the truth but never to be believed. A process like this, when introduced, will be a sword that cuts both ways. And it will come to haunt this college, not now and not immediately, but 10 years from now or 15 years from now. You are on dangerous, slippery ground in doing this. And in making that track, and particularly you, Chairman Everman, you bear, I see, in my opinion, the bulk of the responsibility for this.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? Trustee Daly, Trustee Reyes.
I too have spoken with members of the faculty, and the teachers union didn't have anything to do with my vote. I've spoken with people who both are in support of us offering a job to interim president, and those that were opposed to her becoming the interim president. But none of them, regardless of where they stood, said that the process that we laid out is the wrong way to go. Regardless of where they are, the process is what's important. The process will get us to the right decision. We laid out a process. That's what we're talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Whether somebody likes Shonda or doesn't like Shonda or doesn't know her well enough to like her, or whatever their opinion is of her or in the job that she's doing, nobody said that we should circumvent the process by which the president of Mott Community College should be chosen. And that is the question that's in front of us right now. Whether or not we adhere to the process in which the majority of this board multiple times has indicated that that was the way to go, or are we going to circumvent that process for expediency? I believe in the process. I believe the process will get us the right thing, and I believe that that would get us, that does the best service for the college, for the community, and for the optics of this board.
Thank you very much, Trustee Reyes. Are there any other comments? This is a roll call vote. Trustee Reyes.
No.
Trustee Freeman.
No.
Trustee Couch.
Yes.
Trustee Daly.
No.
Trustee Walcott,
Yes.
Trustee Swanson,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. So, the only thing that we've done right now, we've brought it back. So, Diane, well, I'm sorry, you're not the parliamentarian, you are. So now it goes to point 2.59. We've had our discussion and we've now passed it. Okay. So what happens next is that I will talk with the board attorney and we will begin, no?
Mr. Chair, the motion was a motion to reconsider to bring that item back.
That's what
So
I
that was the
thought.
vote on.
That's
So
what I-
now the motion is once again, I can read the motion again?
Please read the motion again.
The motion that is now before the board is that the board offer the position of president of Mott Community
Point
College.
of order.
To,
We have a point of order.
That motion has not been made.
Yes, it has.
No,
It
we
was made at
voted
the
to
last
reconsider.
meeting.
It would have to be re-brought up.
No, it doesn't. Not by Robert's Rules of Order, and not by a motion to reconsider. And this is the same meeting, because the meeting has been extended to today. So please continue on with reading the motion.
the motion is, I'll start again, that the board offer the position of president of Mott Community College to interim president Shonda Richardson Snell for 3 years on terms that this board shall determine and as may be agreed to by the parties following appropriate contract negotiations and consultation with counsel. Trustee Couch moved that motion. Trustee Swanson seconded the motion and is now once again before the board.
Thank you. Discussion. Trustee Reyes.
I don't feel as though any minds are going to be changed, but I once again will just try to hammer home the point. This is about the process. This is about the process. So offering this job to somebody who has not gone through the full vetting process that we have laid out is a mistake, and it's a disservice to the community, it's a disservice to the college, and it's a disservice to the candidate.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Yes.
Trustee Daly.
I support Trustee Reyes's comments in their entirety. Again, I caution the board to realize that what you are doing is in fact a two-edged sword. And I've been through this process before. And if you watch, you can see a repeat or a preliminary introduction to this in the U.S. Senate every time it comes up about doing away with filibuster. The side that's, it all depends. This has nothing to do with the future of where the college to go. It has to do with the political agenda.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? Trustee Freeman.
So this is probably my last regular meeting, and you know, I'm gonna go on and do my job and, you know, serve the public in my capacity. You know, had you followed, or if you were to follow the process, it would kind of hinder me of being able to say anything was done poorly or inappropriately, right? You do the process, the outcome's the same, you know, but at least you go through a process, and I really can't, you know, for me to say that, well, they followed a process and the outcome was the outcome, I really couldn't say a whole lot. But I guarantee you in the future, if people approach me and they say, so what happened at Mott College? They decided not to follow a process. They decided to ignore input, best practices. They had the outcome. It appears, you know, if you really even look at this entire process, it appears like it's planned. So you're only going to embolden those people, to Trustee Daly's point, that believe that this is a flawed process and there's agendas here, and you've just given a lot of people a lot of ammunition. So your people that you spoke with from the faculty union who said that they feel like they're going to be marginalized, it's going to exacerbate that. It's only going to make them, you know, like now you've got factions, and polarization within the institution. This will only further polarize the institution. Those people who are, what you said, the silent majority, which I kind of hard to believe it's a majority because they do things within the union based on joint consent. If they do a vote of no confidence, that, you know, they vote. So, you know, I think that in the future moving forward, you know, this is going to damage Ms. Schnell's reputation and the reputation of this board, and you are not serving the college. You're serving an agenda or an interest. So likely no one's going to change their vote, but I think it's important to go on record recognizing that we're doing something wrong.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other comments? Please read the motion again.
The motion is that the board offer the position of president of Mott Community College to interim president Shonda Richardson Snell for 3 years on terms that this board shall determine and as may be agreed to by the parties following appropriate contract negotiations and consultation with counsel.
Without further questions, comments, we will do a roll call vote. Trustee Reyes.
No.
Trustee Freeman.
No.
Trustee Couch.
Yes.
Trustee Daly.
No.
Trustee Walcott.
Yes.
Trustee Swanson.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Now, does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing no one changing their vote, the motion has now passed. And we will now enter in with talking to the board attorney. I will talk to the board attorney and begin the process of putting together how we negotiate the contract with Mrs. Snell. Diane, and
I can't speak to that. I can only speak to how something like that would be done.
Move to adjourn.
I believe we have, Mr. Swanson, I saw your name flash up.
Yes. In lieu of offering the contract to Shonda, I believe we need to readdress the motion for the search committees.
Okay. Diane, there's 2.58, I believe.
I'd like to go home, so it's not on the
So,
agenda.
Do you
Figure
have
that out at another meeting,
Trustee Swanson?
please.
I'm sorry, I was listening to
He
Mr.
doesn't have the
Freeman.
floor. You have the floor till we figure this out, what you're asking me.
Well, motion 2.58B was to schedule appointments with the search committees, and that will not be necessary. Do we need, maybe Mr. Freeman's right, maybe we don't need to readdress that. I don't know.
This would be like what you previously did, a motion to reconsider. And right now, your motion needs to be to reconsider that. And then once we go through the process like we did with the 2.59, then we would decide whether or not we're going to vote to reconsider, and we'd take a new vote on it.
But does that need to be done?
Yes, it needs to be done, because that's the process by which we do this. And we have been told that we need to follow process, because
No,
Mr. Chair,
why?
I think what, Mr. Chair, if I may, Mr. Chair,
he
Mr.
has
Chair,
the- he has the floor.
a response. Well, it was discussed
the
that
floor,
that
Mr.
process
Freeman.
could move forward.
Mr. Freeman,
The
he has
attorney
the
said
floor.
the process still could move forward at the last, when we met last. Did we not suggest that since the offer is being made, but we don't know whether or not the offer will be accepted, and so we could still go ahead with the process? So until such time as a successful offer is made and
There's no
accepted,
motion
it
on the
doesn't
floor
need,
at this
it
point.
doesn't,
He has
no.
made a statement.
Was that a motion,
There
or
has
was?
not been a second.
There's no mo.
So you are
there's no
out of
motion.
order, Mr. Freeman.
Whatever.
So we have a motion to 2.58B, and do you want to suspend that until the outcome? But right now, we have to bring it back. So your motion is to bring that back up for reconsideration, a 2.58B. Is that your motion, to bring motion 2.58B back for reconsideration?
I believe so. We need to suspend it for the time being
Well,
until,
before we can suspend it, first we have to be able to bring it back. So it's
okay,
a
my motion
reconsideration.
is to reconsider.
Okay, now we need to have a second. Is there a second for this?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Now, discussion.
Mr. Chair, for clarification, perhaps I should read the motion so everybody knows what that motion is that he's talking
The
about,
motion that he's,
258B.
okay.
Let me find it. Okay.
Point of
This-
order. Didn't
We have
you
a
say
point
the
of-
motion to reconsider has to be made by the prevailing side?
Prevailing side. So
That was not,
let's make
That-
sure that we have
That was not
prevailing
Jeff.
side for Mr. Swanson on this. And please go back and,
Yes, I'll reread the motion from the minutes was, this is on item 2.58B. Trustee Freeman moved that the board schedule for interviews the national search firm candidates which responded to the subject request for proposal, and that the ad hoc committee create a budget for the search. Trustee Reyes seconded the motion. The vote was, it passed, and Trustee Swanson voted to pass it, and so he was on the prevailing side.
point of order. What we're
Yes,
referring
point of
to,
order.
this goes back to Wendy, and this is really the process, established that it would be a national search, and that we would hire a firm using Mott Foundation
Trustee
money.
Freeman,
That
there's not negotiation, there's not
No,
debate on
that's,
this yet.
no, this
So
is,
until
is it
we
not?
have- we've got the second,
Attorney, please,
and we've
point of
going through
information from the
going
attorney,
through their
that this
challenges,
overrides
but this
you.
does
No,
not.
no, this overrides you, Andy. This is for the attorney to provide clarification. The original motion was made by Wendy, both to find a national search, like this is what we have to suspend, is the national search and hiring a firm. That was what was approved with Wendy on October 8th. October 8th, please look at your notes.
That's not
It
before
was-
us at this time.
It
Before us
was.
at this time
And
is
it's,
2.58B.
so it's not up to Jeff, so it has to be Wendy, myself,
ruling of
or
the
Art.
chair is you're
This is
out of
Wendy,
order.
myself, or Art who actually has to make this motion to reconsider.
That's not the motion that trustee Swanson has made, and it
Which
deals
is
with
undoing.
2.58B.
Okay. You know
And
what?
that is the
You're
one
just
that
gonna
we are
do,
discussing
you're gonna
at
do
this
whatever,
point.
you're gonna do whatever
Trustee
you wanna do.
Freeman,
You're
you're
gonna
out
do
of
whatever
order.
you wanna do.
Okay. We
Excuse
have
me?
This
motion.
conduct, this board,
Trustee
it
Freeman,
has gone, this is the reason
you're
I've
out of
decided
order.
not to run again. Because literally,
You're out of order,
the
Trustee
circus,
Freeman.
the circus that this has become, You know, and I had comments that were ready to go, like very reconciliatory.
Thank
Like
you very
I wanted
much.
to say
Thank you very much.
kind things before I leave. And you know, at this point, I can't find it in me.
Okay,
Because
well,
this
thank
is
you.
like, this is an embarrassment. And I want everyone to know I'm walking away from this because this is bad business, right? The reputation has been soiled of this institution. So no matter what you say or how you do, and thank God the voters got you out, Andy. Thank God you lost. Because after this meeting, when they swear in new people, you can't do this anymore. And I've watched you for way too long. So
Thank you very
God
much.
bless, and
Is that your point of order?
good
now?
luck. Thank you.
I
Thank you
was
very
going to
much.
ask Trustee Friedman what his point of information was, but I guess it's moot.
Never got that. Okay. We have a motion, we have a second, and the motion was 2.58B, correct?
Motion to reconsider that motion which passed last.
Okay, so
at the-
this is just
On the 18th.
to consider it. So, we'll have a roll call vote. Yes, you would like to reconsider it, or no, you don't want to reconsider it. Trustee Reyes,
No.
Trustee Couch,
No,
no,
no.
no? Okay.
No.
And Trustee Walcott,
Trustee,
Yes.
yes?
trustee.
Trustee Swanson,
Yes.
yes? And
Uh,
Trustee
is
Everman
that-
votes yes. I'm sorry,
Wait, I meant to say yes, I'm sorry.
okay,
I meant to say yes.
okay. Does anybody want to change their vote? Okay. The motion for reconsidering 2.58B has passed. Now it is back on the floor for reconsideration. Trustee Swanson, you can speak to this first.
Am I correct in assuming this was just scheduling of the interviews for the search firms?
Yes, we'll have we'll
So-
have it read, if you need.
I think we need to stop that. We're not saying to end the search firm or whatever. We're just saying there's no need to meet with them at this time.
Okay. Okay, are there any other comments? Okay, roll call vote. And would you read the 2.58B again so everybody understands what they're voting on?
The motion before the board is that the board schedule for interviews for national search firm candidates which responded to the subject request for proposal, and that the ad hoc committee create a budget for the search.
Okay, so a vote yes is to move forward with the process, the search process, inviting them in. And a vote no is to stop it. Okay, roll call vote.
Mr. Chair, just a point of information. Was there a second to the motion?
The motion was seconded previously in this meeting. It was seconded by Trustee Reyes. Trustee Friedman made the motion, Trustee Reyes seconded.
Okay, roll call vote.
Sorry, just a point of information. So if it's a reconsider, or it voted reconsider, but now that
It's
motion
brought back up.
brought
and you
back up
don't
to
have
to suspend, would that require a new motion to that?
No, the motion
No.
is still there. You're going back to that motion. That's what a reconsideration is.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Trustee Reyes.
Yes.
Trustee Couch.
No.
Trustee Walcott.
No.
Trustee Swanson.
No.
And I will vote no also. So we have suspended, stopped that at this point. Okay. Michelin, is there anything else anybody wants to do? Seeing none. Miscellaneous business. Are there any board-generated ideas this evening? Seeing none, we move to closed session. We have no closed session planned for this evening. Comments from the board. Trustee Reyes.
What has happened here tonight is a travesty.
Trustee Couch. No comment? Okay. Trustee Walcott. I'm Trustee Walcott. No comment. Trustee Swanson.
No.
I have a comment. I was impressed with what I heard tonight for the 90 days. When the candidate first came in and the questions were asked, there were follow-up questions that were asked of her. And she was able to articulate what she was bringing to our table to help our college. I was impressed with that. I did a follow-up question, and it was data-driven decisions because she had touched on that. And I have always believed that the board should be using data-driven decisions. And she articulated that, and that's what swore me to vote for her then as well as now. Thank you very much. This concludes this evening's meeting. Meeting is adjourned.